Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, or should I say afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and yes, we're going back to that horrible world of the JRC. But before we get going, folks, a few of the usual disclaimers, alright? And you know where I was going. Alright, first off, you are going to see the link to this new report we're starting right there in the description box, alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autisticoia's massive archive on the subject, the templates, and the ever-present and self-explanatory Change.org Shut to Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Now, folks, when we talk about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of, catch clips of surveillance footage of, peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, alright? Now, folks, it is 3:47 in the afternoon. I'm not entirely brain dead. But if I stumble over my words anyways, folks, my apologies in advance, alright? Okay, we're going to a report that was done by the Massachusetts Department of Education, done back in 2006. We're going to be going over it for the next few days. I find this particularly interesting because this state has bent over to protect these people time and fucking again since the 70s. So, well, at least the 80s or 90s, right? So it'll be interesting to see what their point of view is going to be. So let's read the first few pages here. Private Special Education School Program Review Report of Findings. Date of on-site visit, January 23rd through 27, 2006. Follow-up visits, August the 2nd, 10th, and 24th, 2006. And then date of the blah, 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 blah. And then it gives a table of contents. Don't worry, we're going to be reading through it all anyways. Massachusetts Department of Education approved private school program review report. To review procedures introduction. The fact that they fucking agreed to allow this place to fucking continue blows my mind. Let's see their crack ass reasoning, shall we? I'm gonna need this tea. The Massachusetts Department of Education is required under MGLC 71B 10 to review special education programs and approval private special education schools that serve publicly funded students under the provisions of the Board of Education Regulation 603, CMR 28 and 18. Each private school submits its application for approval by the Department of Education and periodically updates information, including the application, on how special education services are provided. Each year, the department's Program Quality Assurance Services Unit conducts on-site visits to select approved private schools to verify the implementation of their applications. The selected schools are encouraged to assess themselves before the arrival of the department's visiting team. We all know how truthful the JRC is. The statewide 6-year private school program review cycle, together with the department's mid-cycle follow-up monitoring schedule, is posted on the department's website. Whatever. Private school program review elements. Depending on the size of a private school and the number of programs to be reviewed, a team of 2 to 5 department staff members conduct a program review over 2 to 5 days in the private school. In some instances, other Massachusetts Human Service Agency staff and a representative of the local school district may participate on the visiting team. Scope. All approved private schools in the Commonwealth are monitored through the department's private school program review system on a 6-year cycle with an additional mid-cycle follow-up visit. The 6 years monitoring and following up cycle is coordinated with the department's approved private school application renewal procedures. And you all keep renewing a fucking school that tortures people. You're doing a stellar job. The program review criteria encompass key elements down to the 603 CMR, 18 and 28 in the private school's application for approval. The elements selected for the 2005-2006 reviews also include required federal Office for the Special Education Programs, OSEP, and revised requirements for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act 20 USC, which 1400, as described as the Department's Special Education Advisory Select Program Review. Compliance criteria aligned with the requirements of the goals of Massachusetts Education Reform Act of 1993, being intended to promote high standards and achievement for all students. Remember the fact that these bastards keep using that 1987 rule to be able to be above the fucking law. So no matter what they find out, whether they agree or not, they're going to waive that fucking 1987 consent decree in our faces until we finally cut it up and burn it in front of their eyes. Yeah, sorry, folks. The Department Program Review Report is based on review documentation regarding the operation of the school's programs, together with information gathered through the following Department Program Review methods. Interviews of administrative, clinical, instructional, and support staff across all grade levels. Interviews of parent group representatives. Oh, fuck me. Yes, let's hear from the Kool-Aid drinkers. That'll be fantastic. Other interviews as requested by personnel from state and local agencies, members of the general public. Review of student records. A sample of student records is selected for detailed review by the Department of Education. Student records are examined first by the school staff and then verified by the on-site team using standard department student record review procedures in order to make determinations regarding the implementation of procedural and pragmatic requirements. Parents of students whose files were selected for record review are provided an opportunity to be interviewed by telephone. Oh, yay, that's going to tell you a lot. Observation of classrooms and other facilities. Instructional classrooms and school facilities used in the delivery of the programs and services are visited to determine general levels of compliance with program requirements. Response. A detailed report of findings describes determinations about the implementation status, each requirement criterion reviewed. Included in the findings are recommendations for those criteria that have been implemented in an exceptional manner. Where criteria are identified as not fully implemented, the private school must propose corrective action to bring those areas into compliance with the controlling statutes or regulations. Under the new federal special education state performance plan requirements pursuant to IDEA 2004, public and private schools serving disabled students must demonstrate effective resolution of noncompliance identified by the department as soon as possible, but in no case later than 1 year from the issuance of the department's final program review report. Private schools are encouraged to incorporate the corrective action into their program improving planning, as well as professional and paraprofessional staff plan development. In other words, you all still don't give a fuck about us, but you're going to do what you need to look good on paper now, aren't you? People, I've been fighting with these inane, stupid laws my entire fucking adult lives. They're a joke, and they don't really protect anyone. And thankfully, in my state, in the later mid 2000s, we worked our asses off to make these education laws out here make some type of coherent sense. But it looks like, yeah. But moving on. The Department of Education has the authority to approve private school programs for the purpose of providing special education to publicly funded school-age kids with disabilities. Under this authority, the department reviews the program's educational components as well as compliance with the general health and safety standards, which they have broken time and again. I wonder if you all are going to bend over to kiss their ass when you compare this report with the 2006 report from the New York special education folks. That's going to be a real interesting read. Judge Rodenberg Education Center, the program, or JRC, operates a program for students with significant disabilities in which it utilizes behavioral modification programs of rewards, positive reinforcers, and punishments aversives, which is garbage. The aversives used by JRC include restraint, electric skid shock, and delaying or withholding food in order to decelerate problematic behaviors. And you all think this is fucking okay. to withhold from people because they're doing things you don't like. You can sit there and call them problematic behaviors all you like, but you always use that term and you specifically make it vague. Because problematic behaviors can literally mean anything, folks. I have heard that language before. It used to be used out here, but then they got a dose of us and the other powers that back us who sit there. Oh no, you're not going to get away with this vague shit that lets you stretch the law so you can do what the fuck you want. No. You're going to have to be specific. What problematic behaviors are we talking about? Are they rushing into a crowd getting ready to rip your fucking head off? Or are we talking problematic because they interrupt you with a hand in the air asking to go to the bathroom? Are they problematic because they're actually interrupting class? Or are they problematic because they're stimming and it makes you uncomfortable? We need to start calling people on their shit, folks. No more letting them get away with these vague ass terms, which they can then bend to mean whatever they want to infer it means. No more. Define your shit. Although JRC is licensed by 2 state agencies, the Department of Early Education and Care, EEC, and the Department of Mental Retardation, DMR, God, I hate you people. It is under DMR's authority that JRC use of verses is regulated. Oh, bullshit. It's not under their care. Those people have been trying to get this shit to stop since the fucking 80s. Who are you trying to convince, folks? I read the damn reports. They have waved that consent decree over every regulator's fucking head for decades. Please spare me your bullshit. In addition to DMR's regulation of JRC in this regard, they don't regulate shit. You people don't fucking understand. Nobody regulates the JRC. That's the fucking problem. The only people who are legally allowed to regulate the JRC is the fucking court system, and they never do. Oh, here we go. In addition to DMR's regulation of JRC in this regard, JRC's use of adverses with individual student must be authorized by the probate court under substituted judgment proceeding, which is garbage. This means that for each student for whom JRC wishes to use adverses, it must submit to the probate court a behavioral plan that the court must approve and annually review. Which any court in their right fucking mind that decides that shocking a fucking disabled child with a device meant to cause pain is a good idea? Yeah. In addition, the court appoints an attorney to represent the student's interests in the court proceeding, and the student's attorney may request an independent clinical review of the behavioral plan submitted by the JRC regarding the student. And remember who those lawyers are, folks. Paid for by the JRC. Real defenders of the kids' rights. Sure, Jan. As JRC's use of adversives is monitored under the DMR Regulations 115 CMR 5.14, which we all know how they have violated with impunity, this report does not include a review of the JRC's practices in this regard. Oh, of course it fucking doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Because you bastards don't fucking care about those students. This is paperwork to cover your own ass. I should have known this was going to be a crapshoot, but we're going to read it anyway. It's going to be like the Bernstein report. Fabulous. The Department of Approval of JRC's educational program, however, is conditioned on JRC's maintenance of its license status with the EEC and DMR. A 4-member Massachusetts Department of Education team visited the Judge Rutenberg Educational Center, the program, during the week of January 23, 2006, to evaluate the implementation of selected compliance criteria under the Massachusetts Board of Education Regulation 603 CMR 18, Program and Safety Standards for Approved Public or private day and residential education school programs, and 603 CMR and 2809, approval of the public and private day and residential special education school programs, MGL and 71B, Chapter 766, and the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act 20 USC Section 1400 as amended in 2004 IDEA. Now, remember what they said in 2006 in New York, that these folks did not actually even try to comply with the IEPs of the students. The New York State Education Department, NYSED, independently conducted on-site reviews of the program during April and May 2006, which included document and student record reviews and interviews of school staff, students, and parents. At the time of the NSED review, there were approximately 148 New York students enrolled in the program, and 26 Massachusetts students whose placements were the programmatic and financial responsibility of 20 Massachusetts school districts. In response to concerns raised by the NSED report in July of 2006, the department requested that the 20 Massachusetts school districts with students placed in the program describe their own monitoring activities for the program as required under 603 CMR 28.06. The department reviewed the monitoring reports filed by each district and commenced following up non-announced visits to the program on August the 2nd, 10th, and 24th, 2006. The department is submitting the following private school program report containing findings made pursuant to these on-site visits. In preparing this report, the team reviewed extensive documentation regarding the operation of the school's programs, together with the information gathered by the following department review methods: interviews of 12 administrative staff, interviews with 3 clerical staff, interviews of 17 teaching and educational support services staff, interview of 9 child care staff, interviews of 1 parent of a Massachusetts student enrolled in the school, interviews of 3 representatives of state and local agencies responsible for placements and students in the school. Student record review. A sample of 20 Massachusetts student records was selected by the department. Student records were first examined by the school staff and then verified by the others on-site team using standard Department of Education student record review procedure to make determination regarding implementation of protocol and programmatic requirements. Observation of classrooms and their facilities, all instructional classrooms and 15 residences in the delivery of the program, and services were visited to determine general levels of compliance with the program requirements. We're going to stop here for this evening, but this is going to be interesting, folks. That 2006 New York report was damning. Damning. That should have been all that was needed to get a federal investigation into that place. That should have been all that there was fucking needed at all. All that was needed. But JRC gets away with it again. So I wonder how this report is going to go. Are they going to conclude alongside with the New York special education folks that did that report? Or are they going to try to cover the JRC's ass? It's going to be very interesting to read through this and find out. And on that note, I'm going to close out this evening. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this evening, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.